There are many mysterious things in the world that we still don't understand. From the Bermuda Triangle to the Tower of London, plenty of unexplained phenomena are out there. In this video, we'll look at some of the most mysterious things in the world and figure out what makes them so peculiar. Do you know that the Tower of London is supposedly haunted? Several famous faces are rumored to haunt the tower's walls, as well as a bear that is supposed to materialize and scare guests to death. Arbella Stuart, Elizabeth I's cousin, starved to death inside the castle walls and is claimed to haunt the Queen's house, while Anne Boleyn is said to appear near Tower Green, the location of her execution in 1536. We will discuss this tower in detail later in the video. First, we will talk about the Bermuda Triangle that is located in the Atlantic Ocean. The Bermuda Triangle is a hypothetical location in the Atlantic Ocean where ships and planes have disappeared. Some of these instances are mysterious, such as when a troop of US Navy bombers was lost over the area and never found. The Bermuda Triangle, sometimes known as the Devil's Triangle, encompasses about 500,000 square miles of water off the southern coast of Florida. When Christopher Columbus sailed through the region on his first journey to the New World, he reported seeing a gigantic flame of fire fall into the water one night and a weird light arise in the distance a few weeks later. Two of the Cyclops' sister ships disappeared without a trace over roughly the same route in 1941. A pattern purportedly emerged in which watercraft navigating the Bermuda Triangle either vanished or were discovered abandoned. Then, in December 1945, 5 Navy aircraft carrying 14 personnel took off from an airstrip in Fort Lauderdale, Florida to practice bombing missions over local shoals. However, since his compasses seemed to be failing, the mission's commander, Flight 19, became seriously lost. All 5 aircraft flew aimlessly until they ran out of fuel and had to land at sea. On the same day, a rescue aircraft and its 13-man crew vanished. The official Navy report concluded that it was as if they had gone to Mars after a mammoth, weeks-long search yielded no proof. Additional inexplicable incidents had happened in the region when author Vincent Gaddis created the moniker Bermuda Triangle in a 1964 magazine piece, including 3 passenger aircraft that went down despite having recently delivered "all is okay" communications. Charles Berlitz, whose grandfather founded Berlitz Language Schools, added to the story in 1974. Since then, paranormal writers have blamed the triangle's purported lethality on aliens, Atlantis, sea monsters, time warps, and reverse gravity fields. In contrast, more scientific theories have referred to magnetic anomalies, waterspouts, or enormous methane gas eruptions from the ocean below. Next, we will talk about the Tower of London, situated in England. The Tower of London is one of the world's oldest and most renowned jails, even though it was not built to imprison criminals. The tower, a complex of multiple towers and buildings, was erected in the late 11th century as a fortification to defend London, the British Empire's capital city. The Tower of London quickly became known for its other, more ruthless functions. The White Tower, the oldest component in the Tower of London complex, was begun in 1078 and finished in 1100 during the reign of King William II. Gundulf of Rochester, a Norman bishop who oversaw the building of many vital structures in English history, including the Priory and Cathedral Church in his hometown, planned and constructed it. The White Tower was built of white limestone from Caen in northwest France and Kentish ragstone, a native construction material. The Tower of London was built as a battlement but quickly became a prison. When King Henry I took throne in 1100 after his brother, William II, was assassinated, one of his first actions was imprisoning Ranulph Flambard, Bishop of Durham. Flambard was accused of simony, or the act of selling church administration offices for money. He was the first prisoner detained at the Tower of London, although he escaped afterward. Subsequent kings fortified and expanded the structure. The bell tower's construction began in 1190 and was finished in 1210. The bell at the top of the tower was rung to alert people of an oncoming emergency, such as a fire or an impending enemy assault. The Wardrobe Tower was likewise started in 1190 and finished in 1199. As the name implies, the tower housed royal robes and the famed crown jewels of England. 10 years after the bell tower was finished, King Henry III ordered the Wakefield and Lanthorn towers to be built, the latter being the Old English spelling of the modern word lantern. As the name implies, a lantern was placed at the top of the Lanthorn Tower at night to assist ships approaching the River Thames and the Old Port of London. Many towers and a defensive wall were erected in the Tower of London complex. King Edward I, for example, commissioned the building of a mint at the complex in the late 1200s, which continued to be in use until 1968. The Tower of London's status as a jail grew to make it the ideal detention destination for anybody regarded as a danger to national security, including members of the royal family. Although the facility was notoriously brutal, not all detainees were subjected to inhumane circumstances. For example, wealthy convicts could live pretty well, and some were even permitted to escape for hunting excursions. When Scottish King John Balliol was imprisoned for 3 years in the Tower, until he was permitted to flee to France in exile in 1299, he was authorized to carry his attendants, hunting hounds, and wife with him. Although the facility became renowned for torture, most notably with the horrific contraption known as the rack, torture was used to persuade political captives to reveal information to their captors, mainly in the 16th and 17th centuries. These inmates were ordered to lay down on the rack, wrists and feet shackled. Ropes linked to these restraints were gradually pulled to cause agony. Torture was relatively uncommon, although executions were routine at the Tower of London. Hundreds of convicts were killed at the location by beheading, firing squad, or hanging. Sir Thomas More, a writer and politician, was murdered in the Tower in 1535 for refusing to accept King Henry VIII as the head of the Church of England. Henry VIII notoriously ordered the execution of his wife, Anne Boleyn, a year later. Catherine Howard, Henry VIII's sixth wife, was also killed in the Tower of London in 1542. Perhaps most notoriously, Guy Fawkes, a political prisoner, was executed in the Tower in 1606. On November 5, 1605, Fawkes was arrested for his part in a scheme to blow up Parliament when he was discovered guarding a store of explosives and gunpowder in the legislature's basement. Most of the UK still commemorates Guy Fawkes Night to memorialize the thwarted plot in the British Empire. King Edward VI was killed at the Tower of London in 1471 during the War of the Roses. Simon Fraser was the final person beheaded at the Cell in 1745 for his involvement in the Scottish Jacobite Rebellion, although the institution remained in use far into the 20th century. 11 German spies were executed in the Tower of London during World War I. Despite many attacks on London, just one bomb hit the tower. It entered the moat. The facility suffered throughout World War II. Multiple explosions damaged multiple tower structures. Hitler's second-in-command, Rudolf Hess, was imprisoned there in 1941 after being arrested in Scotland. As we discussed at the start of the video, the Tower of London is haunted. It is said that all people killed in this tower haunt the place. The tower is open to tourists in London. So if you're planning to visit the tower, take some precautionary steps because who knows, you might face one of the ghosts. This brings us to the end of our video. Don't be afraid to suggest future videos in the comment section below.